as you might notice, the large green dome in the center of the objective area is a mosque, which is completely off limits and to friendly fires. This is sort of a new restriction that's been put on the module, or I should say it's new to Shock Force, and basically the American ROE says anyone that fires at you, you can fire at them. You know, it doesn't matter where they are, they could be anywhere. If they fire at you, you can fire at them. But the ROE for NATO is a lot more restrictive, and you can't engage, you know, schools, mosques, things like that. And, you know, that's fine and dandy. I totally understand the basis behind it, but it definitely makes combat against an insurgent force like this. I mean, the enemy that I'm playing against now is an organized insurgent force. It's not like they're not civilians. They're militarily trained insurgents that have been. They were once reserve units, or you know, army units that have been demobilized intentionally and intentionally converted into Fedayeen for the purpose of, you know, delaying and causing as much mischief as possible to the enemy. So, you know, we've never really seen an enemy like this in reality, at least not in Afghanistan or Iraq, because although Saddam made some claims that he was mobilizing a Fedayeen, it was basically just propaganda. But in this theoretical scenario, the Syrian army does fully mobilize Fedayeen, and then they're commanded within the military hierarchy. So that's quite a powerful weapon indeed, because they look like civilians, but they're anything but. And they have access to things like ATGMs, which, you know, are very expensive and dangerous equipment. So it's definitely an interesting challenge and a new aspect of this module. There's nothing really like that in the American campaigns. Well, there was one mission where you weren't supposed to destroy a power plant, but there's sort of a exception to the rule. Most missions you could just blow the shit out of anything you wanted, really. So, second platoon has successfully entered into the outskirts of the town. They've established a foothold, and accordingly, I'm going to call up my reserve. I'm going to call up the Panzer Pioneers, and they're going to exploit the foothold that second platoon has created. I'm also simultaneously attacking Objective Frings, which is the left side here. So I wasn't looking, but looks like some of the martyrs here took fire from an RPG team that's in the mosque. Unfortunately, I can't engage an RPG team. The heaviest weapon I could probably get away with using on that is probably an autocannon. I couldn't use any of the tanks. I couldn't use any artillery or air support unless I wanted to, you know, risk getting chewed out by my superior and failing the mission. Personally, I think if you're firing on, you know, if you're firing on a friendly unit, then be engaged no matter where you are. That's my personal opinion. It's a little different when you're fighting civilians, but In this case, these guys are military that are just wearing civilian clothes and fighting like civilians. I mean, correction, they're pretending to be, civilian Fedayeen. So, here's our first direct contact with the enemy. We have some AK fire being fired at this squad here. I haven't been able to locate the source of fire, so I just put them into a nice cover position, and I move one of the squads up to get into Overwatch. Unfortunately, I think that the Germans are more suited to sort of maneuver warfare. At least that's the way it seems from playing the game, is that it seems like the Germans would fare much better against a mechanized enemy in a conventional war, and it doesn't seem like these little mechanized sections excel really well in urban environments, mainly because they're small. Another reason is because they just don't have the level of firepower that I guess the Marines do. I mean, don't get me wrong, they do have some very powerful weapons, such as the Panzerfaust, but I think that's more useful against armor than it is against infantry targets, as the MP7 would be. So I'm going to dismount the Pioneers. I'm going to rush the Pioneers up. They're going to remain in a local reserve and in a little assembly area until... basically, I'm going to use them to exploit any breaches that my main platoon makes. Okay, so right now we have contact with an enemy machine gun section. This Panzer Grenadier squad, or section I should say, has made contact with a enemy machine gun section right below it, about 20 meters away. And when that section begins to attack the MG section, they get fire from across the courtyard. And right now, what I'm doing is I'm basically just trying to slug it out with the enemy, which is something you never want to do. You never want to slug it out with the enemy, because if you slug it out, both sides are going to get casualties, and you don't want to get casualties. Normally what you want to do is you want to suppress the enemy using an Overwatch element, and then maneuver and destroy the contact while it's suppressed. You don't want to just have this sort of back and forth exchange that's going on now. Unfortunately, I can't really do anything about it, because if I call in howitzers and the spotting rounds hit the mosque, then I'm going to be in trouble. So what I'm trying to do here, this is where the ROE is really coming into place. I'm trying my best to get fire superiority with small arms, which, is possible. My soldiers are better trained than theirs, and they're better armed. But I'm still going to take casualties. It's just, it's inevitable. Some stray shot is going to hit my guys, and I'm just going to lose men. So, also another predicament here is that the entrance to the building that has the machine gun section is on the side of the face of the building, which is away from me. So, in order to attack that position, I would need to basically walk into their field of fire. So this is where the Pioneers come in handy. I can use the Pioneers to blow holes at the walls, and then assault from there. I can create my own entrance, essentially. And the other squad that's there, from second platoon, I can't really use them, because if they were to run out and try to assist the other two squads that are getting attacked, they would get mowed down by the machine gun. So it's very well thought out defense by the enemy. While that's going on, I'm going to move up my guys here on the left flank. And we're basically just going to be bounding from building to building. Again, I'm expecting a close-range ambush by insurgents. So we're still having this little firefight here by the mosque, and my guys are holding their own right now, but it's only a matter of time before I take a casualty. And there we go. One of my guys is incapacitated. The firefight's really starting to intensify here. Can't do much about it. My only hope is that I'll gain fire superiority once those engineers get into a firing position on the bottom floor. Right now, their prepping chart is to blow their way towards the enemy contacts. They blew through the first building leading to the MG. Now they're going to blow through the second building, which will lead directly into the MG. As soon as that MG's down, I'm going to use the squad on the left side that has just been sitting there at this time. So those engineers have taken the MG position, and now they're firing on enemies across the courtyard. Now that there's a lull in the fighting, I can move up my other squads and begin to push my Overwatch elements forward. Still taking sporadic fire though. So I just took another casualty. What they're basically doing is running from house to house and shooting at me, and then so what happens here is I take a risk basically, and I call in howitzers on those buildings because the casualties are becoming unacceptable, honestly, and I don't care about the fucking mosque. I care about my guys surviving. So what I'm doing now is I'm calling in a linear fire mission with the intent of leveling those buildings. And it is danger close to the mosque. It's about 150 meters away from the mosque. I'm betting on the skill of my forward observers and on the accuracy of the Panzerhauser, or Panzerhead, I think it's pronounced. The PZH. That's what I'm betting on. If the fire mission is bad, if the observers are bad, or if the spotting ground misses, then the mosque is getting hit. There's nothing much I can do about that. Unfortunately, what I notice here is that my Overwatch platoon is not really providing effective Overwatch, so I'm going to remount them and then solid them forth. And the platoon that's in the town is starting to take casualties, so there's only so much more fighting they can do before they become combat ineffective anyway. These are enemy mortars landing. All I do is just maneuver my mortars out of the way. It's not really a threat unless a mortar lands directly on top of the vehicle. So now things are getting really, really nasty. Just lost another man. Looks like there is at least an enemy infantry section, probably more in the mosque. I can't engage them effectively. Getting engaged by heavy machine guns in various sections. Ideally, I would like to just level this entire town, but I can't. So very interesting. So now what I'm doing is calling in another howitzer fire mission. this one is intended to suppress the other buildings that are nearby.
Verstanden. Wirkungsschießen. Ende.
First spawning rounds of the first fire mission are coming in. Luckily, the spawning round landed north of the mosque and not on top of the mosque, so that's a plus. Meanwhile, my martyrs are just looking on hopelessly because I can't really support my infantry. I didn't really want to bring them into the urban area because they'd probably get knocked out by RPGs. Although, I think this was another mistake on my part. I probably should have risked it and brought them in closer. I think the infantry would have been able to suppress the RPGs.
Feueranforderung kommen.
Moving my command element up for 2nd Platoon. I also found it interesting that every platoon has a sniper squad. Nato terminology.
Angefeuert, kommen!
At this point, I basically said, fuck it, I'm just going to call in. I'm sick of taking casualties. I'm just going to call in Artie. I'm going to try to, I mean, I am taking precautions. I am trying to make sure that it's accurate. I am trying to remain, I'm trying to observe, you know, danger close restrictions, especially on this fire mission with the mortars. But bottom line is that I can't assault these buildings without suppressing them somehow. And I don't have an aim point with the vehicles, so I'm gonna just bombard them. So on the left here,
Wirkungsschießen kommen.
one of my squads managed to get into Overwatch, and the other squads are also getting a foothold into the objective area.
Verstanden.
So I start to take
Ende.
them.
Feueranforderung empfangen. Ende.
What happens here is an RPG-7 from a nearby house just knocked out one of my leopards. Horrible loss. Big leopard. I did technically hit it on the side, but you know, it was pretty much definitely didn't hit it in a weak spot. It must have just been a lucky shot. The crew gets massacred as an ambush becomes apparent, as enemies open fire upon all the nearby buildings. My immediate reaction is to suppress the contacts and to maneuver the squads forward to try to save the crew and tank. Unfortunately, not very effective. And if I maneuver more vehicles up, there's a chance that I'm going to skyline and then lose more vehicles. What happened there, it's actually pretty hard to tell. The crew of the Leopard dismounted, and then happened is they got blown up by an IED. So the howitzers are really bombarding the hell out of objective Podolsky here.
Feuerauftrag beendet. Ende.
So while the howitzers are landing, I take it upon myself to rush my infantry across in the open because the howitzers sort of, as a secondary effect, have created a smoke screen. So I'm advancing my infantry up towards the mosque. So now that third platoon is taking some casualties and managed to establish Overwatch, I'm now going to advance them forward more. I'm going to try to secure objective Franks. And over here on the right flank, I'm pretty sure that the fire missions I called in must have killed at least 30 guys or so. The buildings that I fired upon are completely destroyed, and I don't suspect much enemy resistance, which was hubris on my part and actually turned out to be a very bad choice. Poor judgment, I should say. So now my intent is to enter the mosque and secure it. I can't really fire BG in there to suppress it, so I'm just going to have to go in there and just assault the contacts that are in there. What I tried to do to ensure that this would go well is I tried to secure a lot of Overwatch elements. This way, if the enemy infantry inside start to spawn, they'll be fired upon immediately. But as we'll see, the enemy infantry retreated into the mosque, and we're basically strong pointing the rooms. What we have here is we're getting engaged by small arms as I'm trying to push towards objective Franks. The Overwatch elements are firing on enemy elements that are trying to destroy my maneuver element. So I'm taking sporadic AK fire. Nothing really too effective, but So basically, the name of the game here is the same as it has been. I'm just bounding up my squads from building to building, getting into an overwatch position, and then assaulting the next position. Very bloody, and there's no real way to avoid taking casualties in a situation like this, especially when you only have one platoon of pioneers. The pioneers are such an advantage because they can, like I said before, they can blow through walls, and that creates a major advantage because they can immediately suppress enemy targets, which is one. Number two is they can, as I said before, they can create their own entrance, their own breach points, and they don't have to walk into obvious kill zones. So I've been sort of neglecting mobilizing first platoon. So that's what I do now, is I get first platoon into the fight.
Feueranforderung kommen.
So now I'm making the decision to move my martyrs into the town. And I only make this decision after I'm pretty sure that the town is suppressed. I wouldn't want to bring them into like an ambush.
Feueranforderungen kommen!
So, while I was busy over there, paying attention to the left flank, the squad that was ordered to secure the mosque was basically decimated. We lost 4 men. And surprisingly, it wasn't the initial fires from the mosque that caused the casualties. It was fires from this building here by the third objective, Klinsman. So, in response to those enemy fires, I am just going to level that entire compound with my remaining howitzer ordnance. The martyrs are also chipping in, and the martyrs are providing suppressive fires. Now, to the right of Objective Klinsman
Achtung,
is
Aufschlag
a
kommen.
school that I'm also restricted from damaging, so I must be very cautious here. But again, I'm
Feueranforderung
taking
empfangen.
calculated
Ende.
risk.
Abgefeuert. Kommen.
Another factor that was causing me to take some risks is that there's only about 20 minutes left in the mission, and I'm not even halfway into the town. So I really need to step up the tempo.
Achtung, Aufschlag. Aufschlag. Ende.
Pretty much have secured the central objective, but it's going to be a real bitch to get to
Achtung,
Klinsman.
Aufschlag. Kommen. Aufschlag. Ende. Wirkungsschießen.
So there are 2
Ende.
survivors from the squad
Wirkungsschießen kommen!
that attacked the mosque. The mosque is secure, but the squad, there's only a 2-man squad there
Verstanden.
in the
Wirkungsschießen.
section.
Ende.
Trying to move the martyrs up to provide some additional fire support. I think this mission would have been much easier with one or two less vehicles. they're basically going to attack the objective Klinsmann. The artillery fire missions, the howitzer fire missions, are going to be used as a preparatory bombardment. And after the preparatory bombardment is over, then the first platoon is going to attack the objective Klinsmann. And they're going to be provided overwatch and also by 2nd Platoon and the Pioneers. Linear fire mission that was on the objective Klinsmann compound, I tried to keep it. I didn't want to extend it as far towards the school, so the right side of the compound is going to be unaffected by arty. I wasn't really aware of the incredible accuracy of the PZH system. I mean, it's really accurate to within like 10 meters. I mean, if you have a good observer, it's really easy to